Yeah, baby, the nectar of the gods. Morning, folks. How you doing today? Hey, guess what? It's range day. Yeehaw! Early morning range day. We're out here at 7 a.m., baby, and really I would have been shooting at 6. If I hadn't had a pig run out in front of me, it turned into a little chase, but I'll get him tomorrow morning. I know where he likes to feed in the mornings now. Anyway, welcome out to the range, and welcome back to third in the series. It's the final part, I guess you should say, on that M1 Garand deep dive. We've got some targets set up, and we're going to go over sighting of the weapon, getting zero for combat zero. Now, I'm not talking about sighting it in so that you can shoot bullseye tournament with it. I'm talking about a combat zero, what this weapon's made to do. Now, obviously, this weapon's already been zeroed. We're not going to have to go through that with this fresh. But what I am going to do is simulate and demonstrate for you on that and try to give you a pretty good picture of how simple it is really to set your M1 Garand up for a good combat zero, battle sight zero. And by that I mean when it's sitting in its battle sight zero configuration, you'll be able to engage man-sized target anywhere from 50 to 350 meters without adjusting your sights. All you'll have to do is just use a little bit of holdover at the extreme ranges, and really you're not holding over the target, you're just holding high on the target. So without further ado, I'm going to slurp a little bit more of this here lifer's juice and get the camera reset so we can see what we're talking about on the front and rear sight apertures and devices on this weapon, and get you a little more knowledge. Stand by. Alright, folks, now you notice I've got this on a close-up view of the rear of the front side of the piece, and you can probably see it in the view that this front sight blade is actually a blade. It's not a post, it's a blade. It's not just a round piece of rod sticking up. These are fine things, but you can also see right here a little bit of ledge of the dovetail unit that this sight block itself sits on and is mounted to. You also notice this big old hex head locking screw. When you're sighting this weapon in for initial combat zero, yes, the rear sight aperture and unit does have windage adjustments, but you want that set on center. You'll set your rear sight on center. You make your initial left and right windage adjustments here at the front sight. Now, most normally, that's not going to require much lateral movement left or right. And you'll notice this one has just a little bit of ledge showing here. And on the other side, it's almost smooth even with it, but not quite. It still hasn't reached the very edge. So that's fine. You loosen this screw after you take a couple of initial shots and you adjust. Now, adjusting the front sight for left and right means you move the sight in the opposite direction that you want the group to shift. On a rear sight, you move it the same direction. So I had to adjust this front sight aperture unit just a little bit to the right, and now it's just where I want it to be. But you take your initial 3-shot group, you figure how far you want to move, you make minor adjustments, and when you're where you want to be, you lock that screw down good and tight. Now, don't shoot while the screw is loose, or you're not doing yourself any good. You have to just take your initial 3-shot group, decide how far you want to go and which way, loosen the screw, move the sight block, tighten the sight block, and fire another group for registration. Once that's done, lock that puppy down good and secure, and please, for God's sakes, whatever you do, do not put any Loctite on that screw, or you will never, ever get it to move again. All right, stand by. All right, now we're back here at the rear sight. You see, this is your peep sight aperture. and it sits on a graduated geared stem that is curved and it's inside this housing. Up and down is controlled by your left-hand knob. It has marks on it that are numbered, and those numbers do not correspond to yardage. They are simply reference numbers once you have your weapon battle sighted in that you can reference to in case you have to move to a different setting at an extreme range and you know where that number is, like it corresponds to the number 3 hash mark on the dial, then yeah, you know how to move to that. But other than that, the hash marks do not designate ranges. They are just reference numbers. Now if I can bring it in, I must have a bug on the, there you can see right here there's an index mark. And I have a corresponding dial mark sitting next to it. It has a C or a 0. And that is my combat 0 sight setting. And I know all I have to do anytime I need to make a shift by actually moving the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clicks down, and I'm bottomed out. And if for some reason it gets down there, anytime I want to go back to battle sight 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I am back to my battle sight 0. Now to set this is the later variant of the sights. When you're setting for your range on this sight, you're going to set up at 25 meters. You want to bring this sight up somewhere around 10 or 12 clicks. That's your starting point. You've got your target at 25 meters and you hold a full sight picture, military sight picture, just the top of the post at the bottom of the bull of the target. Now when I say the bull of the target, I mean if I'm using a black target it's 8 inches across or 6 inches across, I hold at the very bottom of the black target itself. And you fire a group, and you want to get your rifle at 25 yards shooting 2 1/4 to 2 1/2 inches high of your point of aim. Once you're there, then you're going to move back to 100 yards. And you're going to fire another group and check for impact. And the odds are real good you're going to go down 1 or 2 or 3 clicks, so that your bullet strike is approximately 5 inches, 5 1/2 inches, even 6, high of your point of aim, the top of the post. Once you're there, you have your combat battle sight 0. Then you come back to this screw, you hold this aperture in place so that it doesn't move, you loosen this screw and bring it out until it's loose enough that this knob can turn forward or backward without the aperture moving, because this doesn't turn a direct gear that directly drives this. This system is like a clutch on an old standard transmission. Once you take the spring pressure off of the unit inside, you can turn this, it'll still click, but this won't move. All right? And you can turn this to your index mark for your indicator for battle sight 0, and then screw this screw back in, making sure this never moves up or down. Retighten that screw when you're at that point. Then you advance the sight, making sure that every time it clicks, that aperture moves all the way up to the very top. And then, holding it steady, you will retighten that screw again and snug it down real good. Now you don't have to hoss it so bad that you're peeling steel off the screw. Then you should be able to just go ahead, bottom her all the way out, come back the number of clicks you normally do, 1, 2, your mark should still be corresponding to the index on the side. And man, that's it. After that, you're good to go. So we'll kind of simulate that. We're going to fire some rounds, simulate what we're doing. And we're going to start out 25 meters. We set up the camera so we can catch the impact strike. And a couple of shots when we're shooting. And hopefully it'll be an enjoyable thing. So stand by. Let's get reset and load this puppy. All right, before we take these shots, talk just a minute about the way this rifle feeds itself. You'll notice I got this weird looking metal clip holding all the bullets. That's called an end block. An end block clip. It's one of the few times you can actually use clip in the proper context. It holds 8 rounds, and in combat they would come preloaded, preset in bandoliers, and you just come ripping by the box and grab 2 or 3 of them and haul butt. U.S. military really didn't like detachable magazines, the thought of them, even though they were in use in combat by other nations, and including the Axis. It was the mindset of the generals at the time in charge of it that detachable magazines that extended below the weapon were cumbersome. They were going to get in the way and stuff. They were going to hang up on stuff. They would always be dropped and lost, and then you'd be looking for them again. So that's why they wanted the Garand to have an internal box magazine. And they were willing to say, okay, 8 rounds is enough. We'll just make a shitload of these little clips, which are a lot cheaper to make than detachable box magazines every day. So it's fairly simple. This bolt is completely to the rear and the weapon is locked open to the fact that it's empty. Now, M1 Garands have what is called timing. And a well-timed M1 Garand will not slam down on your thumb when you place the clip. It shouldn't. I just heard a pig. You should be able to emplace the end block, drive it all the way to the bottom, and the bolt should want to start to move forward, but will need a little assistance by just tapping the rear of the charging handle. And timing is something that is affected and by wear, and hopefully this one is still in pretty good shape, so let's find out. Now you can place that end block either way. As long as the bullets are pointing forward, you're in the right place, baby. And right here at the rear is a small cutout on both sides that these little dimples ride in. There's one on each side of the clip. So those are your guides for emplacement. You're going to go ahead and just press that puppy all the way to the bottom. And you heard that kind of click, but it didn't jump forward. Now bring my hand out. I guess if I banged on the weapon, it might. And it does. So that weapon is now loaded, hot, and ready to go. All right, stand by. All right, we've got our target set up at 25 yards. Right now, I've got the rear aperture dialed completely down. Now we're going to bring it up 10 clicks. We're going to fire a 3-shot group. And hopefully they all go where they're supposed to go. Stand by. Now my aim point is not the red dot of the bullseye. My aim point is the very bottom of the entire black circle target. It's sitting right on top of the front post. Stand by. Alrighty, so we are obviously at our battle sight 0 for 25. The first round came in a little low. That was a cold, clean bore. The second 2 rounds impacted right here at the second line, and that's literally 2 1/4 inches up from the bottom of that target. And my point of aim is right there below this little name brand. So we're where we want to be, and this one's dead center, this one's a little right. That's probably just me. But yeah, we're ready to step back to 100 yards and see what this puppy will do at 100. Stand by. All right, as you can see, we've moved ourselves back a little bit, and we're now at 100 yards. And our sight can still be adjusted if we want. It probably won't need to be. Now, my combat 0 on this rifle is 9 clicks up. Let's go to the bottom and see how many we are. 1, 2, 3, 5. Not very far. So now we're going to go up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clicks. And I'm back on my indicated combat battle sight 0. The difference is 4 clicks that I would have adjusted once I started sighting in back here at 100 yards. I would have gone 4 clicks up to get the group that I'm getting ready to shoot. Hopefully getting ready to shoot, that my group will be somewhere an inch or 2 above the actual bullseye of the target. And this will give me my combat battle sight 0. And at this setting, I can engage targets 200, 300 yards away. If I have to do it on the fly at 400, I can do it. You can do it. So without further ado, because it's getting hotter than blue blazes out here, let's see what we can get done. And remember, we're holding the same sight picture we always held, a full combat sight picture. Obviously, we won't get to see the bullet strikes because I don't have 2 cameras that Bluetooth, but we'll go down there and look at her here in a minute. Yeehaw! Love to ping in the morning. All right. All right. Went down, took a look, and my group, with this ammo that I loaded last night, is running just a little high. It's a little lighter weight bullet than the 173s that were used to sight this weapon in. So even though I'm hitting a little higher than I want, I'm really still at the top of the target, which means I'm only 8 inches high, which means really that's a great combat battle sight 0, because I can shoot him in from anywhere from 0 to 400 meters. If he's at 400 and I want him that bad, I can put the pip on the bottom of his chin and pull the trigger, and baby, he's there. But we're going to go ahead and drop it down a couple of clicks, seeing as how I've got several clips full of this stuff to kind of have around the house. So I always know where my battle sight combat 0 mark is. I can always go back to it when I go back to the 173s. That's nice to know. All right, let's go ahead, load another clip, shoot us another group, see how she does. Kind of curious about this ammo now. Fun, fun, fun. Let's go take a look at it, see what we did. Stand by. All right, folks. Now we have the result of firing our 100-yard side-end check. You remember I took it down a couple of clicks because of the ammo being a little hotter than the 173s. I wouldn't say hotter, it's just a lighter bullet, so its trajectory path is a little different. This is my point of aim, full sight picture, full military combat sight picture. This is my group. And that's a couple of flyers. That's just me. And yes, it's quite fucking frustrating. But 62-year-old eyes and sweaty morning summer sun with no wind, I haven't had breakfast yet with iron sights, and I'm sitting sideways to the sun. That's some killer shit right there. I don't care who you are. But anyway, that's my aiming point, and this group at center is falling really right where I want it to. That is an excellent combat battle sight 0. Not a bad group for iron sights for me because I can't see that front post except it's just a blur. But still, it's pretty damn good. So the old warhorse is still doing her thing, and you know, it's several that are just right there next to and on top of one another. So when I do my part, the rifle certainly does it. Well, folks, it is hotter than the hubs of hell out here, and I'm sweating like a whore in church. So what do you say we get the hell out of the sun and go find me a little breakfast and something cool to drink? Thanks for stopping by, folks. I'm glad you stopped in. I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope you might have learned a little something. Like I said, it's not an in-depth tutorial, but it just gives you a little familiarization and maybe a little information you might not have had, help you have a little more fun with old Granddaddy's warhorse, General Patton's favorite implement of battle. And as you can see, this one's still doing a fine job. Let's go find some Axis pigs. What do you say? Oh, speaking of pigs, pulling out, had 5 pigs grazing in a herd of cattle. I couldn't shoot. Oh, that pisses me off when the enemy starts learning tactics. You guys have a great day. Stay cool, stay safe this summer. Remember, Father's Day is tomorrow. Enjoy your time with your dad. Get as much of it as you can. It goes by way too fast. I love you guys. Be good. Be good to one another. Be safe. And hopefully, sometime soon, I'll be seeing you guys somewhere downrange. Bye-bye.